In your family, is there someone who always likes to make decisions for you, as if they have the right to decide everything? Could be a distant relative, a strict uncle, or even your sibling. For me, that person is Emily, my bossy little sister who firmly believes that if she wants something, the whole world should revolve around her. And this time, Emily didn't just want something. She decided to throw her birthday party at my house without even asking me first. But I wasn't going to let that happen. I taught her a lesson she would never forget. Follow my story. Who knows, it might just help you too. Hello, my name is Anna. I'm 30 years old and currently work as a financial director for a transportation company. My husband, Ethan, is a software engineer. We've been married for 5 years, and 2 years ago, after much hard work, we finally rewarded ourselves with a luxury apartment, a well-earned prize for our relentless efforts. It's a spacious, airy place with modern furnishings and, most importantly, a small garden where Ethan and I enjoy peaceful mornings over coffee. Since buying our place, our apartment has practically become the family's go-to party venue. Year-end celebrations, Thanksgiving, Christmas, you name it, it all happens here. I don't mind too much since I still have some control over the situation. But things started getting out of hand when my younger sister, Emily, 28 years old and working in the fashion industry, began treating our home like her own property. Emily always wants things her way. Once she decides, it's nearly impossible to change it. The tipping point came last month when she announced she would host her birthday party at my apartment, without asking for permission. I remember that morning vividly. It was a beautiful Saturday, so quiet that I could hear the gentle trickle of water from my beloved coffee machine. I had just picked up my cup, inhaling the rich aroma, ready to savor a peaceful weekend when, the door burst open without warning, shattering my moment of tranquility. Emily stormed into the kitchen like a whirlwind. Her face lit up with excitement as if she had just discovered something revolutionary. Before I could even react, she threw up her hands and boldly declared, "I'm throwing my birthday party here. I already told everyone. It's happening this weekend." I nearly dropped my coffee. Wait, what? Emily flipped her hair, her tone confident, as if I had just asked the dumbest question ever. Your place is spacious, the garden is gorgeous, and the kitchen is top tier. It just makes the most sense. Everyone's used to partying here anyway, so why change things? Ethan, who was lounging on the couch flipping through a newspaper, glanced up at me with that familiar "oh no not again" look before going back to reading as if this had nothing to do with him. I crossed my arms and stood my ground, keeping my voice calm. "Emily, you never even asked us." She shrugged, completely unfazed. "What's there to ask? You have no reason to say no. Your place is the biggest, it's the perfect choice. Besides, I've already invited everyone, and they're all expecting it. If you cancel, you'll embarrass me." I raised an eyebrow, biting back a sarcastic laugh. "So let me get this straight. I'd be embarrassing you for not going along with a party you planned without asking me." Emily pouted, her tone both sulky and insistent. "Come on, I know you'll say yes. You don't have to do anything. I'll take care of everything. You need to open the door and let people in." "Easy." I turned to Ethan, silently begging him to back me up, but he just shrugged, his expression saying good luck. "Babe, I'm not getting involved in this mess." I took a deep breath and faced Emily again, determined not to let her bulldoze over me this time. "Listen, you can't just decide something like this alone. Ethan and I have our plans. We're not agreeing to this." Emily immediately waved her hands in frustration. No, you don't get it. You can't say no. I've already planned the menu, ordered the cake, and booked a DJ. If you cancel, you'll ruin everything." I folded my arms tighter, my gaze narrowing. "How can I cancel something I never agreed to in the first place?" Emily rolled her eyes, exasperated. "You're overreacting. Do you even realize how important this party is? I got a cake from the best bakery, invited my close friend group, and even picked a dress code. You can't be this selfish." I let out a dry chuckle. "Selfish? You made all these decisions without asking, and now I'm the selfish one." Emily sighed dramatically as if I were the unreasonable one. "Ugh, you're being so difficult. Whatever, I have a ton of things to organize. I just came to let you know. Saturday at 7 p.m. Don't make this complicated." And with that, she spun on her heel, pulling out her phone and texting furiously, probably finalizing the guest list. I stood there watching my sister, feeling my blood pressure spike. Ethan took a slow sip of his coffee, amused. "So, How are you planning to handle this? He asked, his tone teasing. I clenched my fists, a cold smile forming on my lips. Just wait and see. The following day, on a peaceful weekend, I stretched and sat up, ready to enjoy a relaxing start to the day, when my phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message from Mom. Lazily, I reached for my phone, still half asleep. Mom, I'm so excited about Emily's birthday party at your place. How's the preparation going? I snapped awake instantly, blinking a few times to ensure I wasn't imagining things. Wait, what the hell? My eyes widened as I shot upright as I had just been doused with a bucket of ice-cold water. A surge of anger flared up in my chest as the reality of the situation sank in. Emily, I muttered through clenched teeth, gripping my phone tightly. Beside me, Ethan was still wrapped in the blankets, half asleep. What's wrong? He asked groggily. I took a deep breath, trying, and failing to keep my cool. Turning to my husband, I nudged his shoulder to wake him up properly. Did you know Emily told the whole family we are hosting her birthday party? Ethan frowned slightly, then lazily reached for my phone. He read the message, sighed, and rubbed his temples like he had a significant headache. Oh, for God's sake, he muttered. I sat there, fuming, trying to contain the fiery rage bubbling inside me. I scrolled through my messages, and sure enough, Emily hadn't just informed Mom. She had sent a message to the entire family group chat. This weekend is going to be amazing. Anna and Ethan's place is perfect, spacious and gorgeous, and the kitchen is top-notch. Everyone, just come and have fun. As if I had willingly offered to host her party. My eyes narrowed, and my jaw clenched. This girl. I turned to Ethan, holding up my phone like it was damning evidence in a court case. See? She invited everyone, completely ignoring the fact that we said no. Ethan set the phone aside and let out a long yawn. I take it you're not going to let this slide. I crossed my arms, taking a deep breath. Not a chance. Ethan shifted to face me, curiosity flickering in his eyes. So, what's the plan? Slowly, I smiled, and there was nothing kind about it. Just wait and see. If anyone thinks I'm against this just because I'm selfish or don't like parties, they couldn't be more wrong. I have a good reason for never allowing my sister's birthday party to be held at my house again. It all started with last year's disaster. Back then, I naively believed that hosting a small, simple gathering at home wouldn't be a big deal. Emily had begged me for an entire month, promising that everything would be under control, and that it would be just a few close friends. I trusted her, and that was my biggest mistake. That evening, I prepared a few snacks, bought a beautiful cake from Emily's favorite bakery, and even decorated a little to set the mood. It would be a cozy, enjoyable night. But when the clock struck 7 p.m., my nightmare officially began. The doorbell rang non-stop. I opened the door, expecting about 10 guests, as Emily said. But no. Nearly 30 people flooded into my home. I stood frozen as groups of Emily's friends streamed in like a tidal wave, laughing and chatting as if entering a nightclub. Someone blasted EDM music. Another person helped themselves to beer from my fridge. A few people sprawled across my sofa like it was their lounge. And Emily? She just giggled and waved me off. Relax. It's my birthday. Have some fun. Emily's version of fun turned out to be utter chaos. By 9 p.m., things had spiraled entirely out of control. A group of her friends decided to play beer pong on my dining table, spilling beer all over my carpet. Another guest slipped and shattered a stack of brand new plates I had just bought. Someone even brought a shisha pipe and started smoking indoors, turning my living room into a makeshift hookah lounge. And then came the moment I knew things had gone way too far. The doorbell rang again, but this time it wasn't another guest. It was Mr. William, my next-door neighbor. A man in his 60s who always wore turtleneck sweaters and had a strict habit of going to bed early. He stood at my doorstep, arms crossed, his expression a mix of irritation and disappointment. Anna, can I have a word? His voice was calm but firm. Feeling my face heated up with embarrassment, I nodded and entered the hallway. I don't mean to ruin your party, he continued, but the music is deafening. The whole building can hear it. Some of the other neighbors have complained. It's already past 9. Maybe it's time to turn it down a bit. I felt a deep wave of humiliation wash over me. Ethan and I had worked so hard to afford this apartment. And now, thanks to Emily's party, it had become the source of noise complaints from the entire complex. I apologized profusely to Mr. William, assuring him I would handle it immediately. But when I turned back inside, The first thing I saw was some random guy, not one of Emily's friends, sitting on my kitchen counter, barefoot, with his feet propped up on my table like he owned the place. That was it. I marched straight into the living room and cut the music off. Every head turned to look at me. Some groaned in frustration, but I didn't care. Crossing my arms, I took a deep breath and spoke loud and clear, my voice leaving no room for argument. Party's over. Everyone, leave. Now. Emily's jaw dropped, her face a mix of shock and betrayal, as if I had just shut down a 5-star Michelin restaurant. What are you doing? We haven't even cut the cake yet, she protested. I narrowed my eyes. Then take the cake to your place and cut it there. Under my glare, the party finally ended. One by one, the guests shuffled out. But as I looked around my apartment, beer-soaked carpets, the stench of smoke clinging to the air, shattered dishes everywhere, I knew one thing for sure. Emily would never host another birthday party in my home again. And yet, here we are. Once again, my sister has taken it upon herself to throw her party at my place, without my permission. I stayed silent for 4 days. No arguments, objections, or texts to stop Emily. I watched as she excitedly planned, convinced that she had won. The family group chat lit up constantly with her enthusiastic messages. I ordered the birthday cake. It looks amazing. Got it from a famous bakery. It will be delicious. We're having a DJ. How fun is that? I want to make the night unforgettable. Everyone, remember the dress code. White and gold to match my party theme. If you don't dress accordingly, there will be a penalty. I scrolled through her messages, reading each one carefully. And then I simply smiled, because Emily could plan all she wanted. She could order the cake, book the DJ, and even hire the most extravagant decorators if she wished. But there was one tiny detail she didn't know. I had booked 2 plane tickets to the Maldives. We were leaving Saturday morning, one day before Emily's birthday. This time, there would be no chaotic party in my home. No neighbors knocked on my door to complain. And most importantly, no birthday celebration at my house. Setting my phone down, I glanced at Ethan, who was casually scrolling through his laptop, double-checking our travel itinerary. He looked up at me with a raised eyebrow and a smirk. So, we're just going to let her figure it out alone? I nodded, shrugging. Exactly. Let's see how Emily manages when she shows up and the hosts are nowhere to be found. Ethan chuckled, stretching his arms before leaning back into his chair. I must say, I like how you're handling this. I took a sip of my coffee, eyes gleaming with amusement. Emily wanted a party. She could have one. But I wouldn't be here to witness the chaos. Good luck, little sister. Ethan and I carefully packed our suitcases the day before Emily's birthday party. I felt overwhelming relief as I folded each piece of clothing into my luggage. This time, there would be no cleaning up after Emily's chaos. No neighbors are complaining about the blaring music. Before leaving, I made a quick stop next door and rang the bell to Mr. Williams' apartment, the kind neighbor who had knocked on my door last year to complain about the noise. He opened the door, wearing his usual calm expression. Something wrong, Anna? I smiled and handed him a bottle of wine as a small gesture of appreciation. Mr. William, I'll be away for a few days. If anyone causes trouble, especially my sister, please feel free to call the police. Mr. William raised an eyebrow, taking the bottle with an amused look in his eyes. So, you've got it all planned out, huh? I chuckled. Of course, I don't make the same mistake twice. And with that, Ethan and I wheeled our suitcases out to the car, locked up the apartment securely, activated the security system, and headed off to the airport. On the night of Emily's birthday, I was stretched out on a sun lounger, enjoying the cool ocean breeze on a pristine beach in the Maldives. In front of me was a chilled cocktail, and Ethan was flipping through a travel book beside me, both of us fully immersed in absolute relaxation, until my phone started vibrating. Again and again, a flood of missed calls and messages poured in. I sipped my cocktail, slid my sunglasses down, and lazily unlocked my phone. Where are you? I'm here. But the door is locked. Open the door. Everyone's waiting outside. Are you kidding me? Don't play games with me. Message after message from Emily. I sighed deeply, a slow smile creeping onto my lips. With one hand, I opened my security camera app and checked the live feed. The sight on my screen made me chuckle. Right in front of my apartment, a group of about 15 people, including Emily and her friends, stood in disbelief, staring at the locked door. Emily was furiously tapping her phone in the middle, probably trying to call me or Ethan. Some of her friends were glancing at their watches, exchanging impatient looks. I zoomed in. Emily was stomping her foot, muttering under her breath in frustration. But the fun wasn't over yet. After about 10 minutes, Emily seemed to have lost all patience. I watched as she stepped up to the door and jiggled the handle again. Of course, it didn't budge. Then she turned and spoke to some guy in the group. He nodded knowingly, pulled out a small toolkit, and crouched in front of my lock, trying to pick it open. I narrowed my eyes. Emily, are you seriously breaking into my house now? I was just about to call Mr. William when I saw his apartment door swing open. Stepping out into the hallway, arms crossed, Mr. William stood there watching the group in complete silence. His face was unreadable, but I could only imagine the unimpressed thoughts running through his mind. I didn't have to do a thing. 10 minutes later, the police arrived. A patrol car pulled up in front of the apartment building, and 2 officers stepped out. I could see them clearly on my camera, walking up to Emily's group with firm expressions. Emily shot up immediately, stammering something while some of her friends tried to distance themselves, pretending they had nothing to do with this. The guy with the lock-picking tools quickly shoved them back into his bag. I couldn't hear their conversation through the camera, but I watched Emily frantically gestured, her face pale. One officer shook his head, then pointed toward the apartment entrance, most likely ordering them to leave immediately. The scene was beyond satisfying. I took another sip of my cocktail and glanced at Ethan. The cops are here. He raised an eyebrow. Already? I turned my phone toward him, showing the live footage of Emily's disaster unfolding. Ethan chuckled, shaking his head. I never thought I'd see the day my wife set a trap for her sister. I laughed. It's not a trap. It's just natural consequences. Ethan lifted his cocktail, clinking his glass against mine. Well then, congratulations. You handled this perfectly. I smirked. This is just the beginning. Emily still hasn't fully learned her lesson yet. But trust me, she won't forget this anytime soon. With that, I set my phone down and returned to the view. No chaotic party. No Emily. Just me, Ethan, and the breathtaking beauty of the Maldives. The following day, I woke up in our luxurious bungalow, surrounded by complete tranquility. The only sound was the gentle lapping of waves against the shore below. Ethan was still fast asleep beside me, one arm draped over his forehead, breathing steadily. I stretched lazily, reaching for my phone on the bedside table and unlocking it. Immediately, the screen flooded with unread messages. Where are you? You can't do this to me. Do you know how long we had to stand outside? All my friends saw this. You embarrassed me. Mom is furious. You better explain yourself. All from Emily. I scrolled down. She wasn't done. We had to take the cake to a random cafe and eat it there. This was the worst birthday ever. You're a terrible, selfish, petty sister who doesn't care about me at all. I set the phone down, took a sip of water, and gazed out the window. The ocean stretched endlessly before me, a perfect shade of turquoise, with the golden sunlight glistening off the waves. It was so breathtakingly beautiful that I found it impossible to care about Emily's tantrum. And then my phone rang. I glanced at the screen. Mom. Sighed, mentally preparing myself before answering. Hi, Mom. Her voice came immediately, no greeting, just straight to the storm. Anna. What the hell did you do? I winced and pulled the phone slightly away from my ear. What are you talking about? What am I talking about? Emily cried all night. She said you ruined her birthday on purpose. I don't understand what you were thinking. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Mom, I told Emily I did not agree to host her party. She decided independently, sent out invites, and planned everything independently without asking me. And now she's mad at me? Mom cut me off, still exasperated. But at the very least, you should have warned her. How could you lock the door and leave it like that? Do you know they stood outside for hours? I smirked. Oh? And did Emily tell you about last year's party? Did she tell you how I had to clean up a disaster after it? How did the neighbors complain, and the police almost got called because of the noise? Did she mention how much money I had to spend fixing things after her friends broke dishes, spilled beer on my carpet, and smoked shisha inside my house? Silence. For a brief moment, Mom had no response. Then, she sighed. But that was just one time. Her birthday only happens once a year. Did you have to go that far? I let out a cold chuckle. One time was more than enough. And let me be clear, there will never be a second time. Another silence. Mom finally spoke, her tone softer but still hesitant. Anna, she's your sister. You can't just treat her like this. I sat up straight and made my point crystal clear. Mom, she's not a child anymore. She's 28 years old. She needs to learn that actions have consequences. No one is obligated to cater to her every whim. Another pause. Mom knew I was right but didn't want to admit it. Finally, she let out a long, weary sigh. Fine. I don't want to argue anymore. I hope this doesn't create distance between you two. I looked at the stunning view of Maldives paradise before me and replied calmly, Mom, as long as Emily respects my boundaries, we'll be fine. The call ended. I placed my phone back on the table and stretched with pure satisfaction. Ethan stirred beside me, blinking sleepily. Was that your mom? Yep, I smirked. She yelled at you too. He yawned and pulled me closer. I'm used to it. I laughed, snuggling into his warmth. At that moment, I wasn't thinking about Emily anymore. I was here in paradise, and I was finally enjoying the vacation I deserved. After the call with Mom, I sank into the lounge chair on our balcony, taking a deep breath and trying to soak in the fresh ocean air. But then my phone buzzed again. Family group chat. Family forever. I opened it, already predicting what was waiting for me. A flood of accusatory messages. Aunt Lisa. Anna, how could you do this to your sister? She just wanted to have a fun birthday. Aunt Sarah. As the older sister, you should be more understanding. Emily didn't do anything to deserve being locked out. Uncle Robert. What you did was harsh. She's your sister, not a stranger. Cousin Jake. People came expecting a party and ended up standing outside embarrassed. You should have told her if you didn't want to host. I read each message, feeling equal parts annoyed and amused. I had been clear from the beginning. I said no. Emily ignored me, made plans independently and sent out invites. Somehow this was my fault. I sighed and decided to set the record straight. Once and for all. Me. Everyone, let me make this clear. I told Emily from the start that I did not agree to host her party. She ignored me, invited everyone, and even hired a DJ. If you're upset that no one was warned, let me ask. Who should have asked permission before sending invitations? Who is being selfish here? I wasn't done. Me. Last year, I let her have her party. Do you know what happened? My house turned into a nightclub. Neighbors complained, dishes were broken, beer was spilled all over my carpet, and it took me a week to clean up. I refused to go through that again, yet Emily decided for me. And now I'm the bad guy. I hit send and waited. Some people read the messages but stayed silent. A few, like Aunt Lisa and Aunt Sarah, finally started to understand. Aunt Lisa. Oh, I didn't know last year was that bad. Aunt Sarah. If that's true, then Emily was wrong. But you should have explained this to us sooner. But, of course, not everyone was willing to see reason. Uncle Robert. Regardless, you should be the bigger person. Family means compromise. Cousin Jake. I don't care what happened last year. Publicly humiliating your sister in front of her friends? That's cold, Anna. Some distant aunt. It was just a party. Did you have to react that harshly? I shook my head, exhausted. They didn't care about boundaries. They didn't care that I said no. They only cared about whether I was nice enough to cater to Emily like she was a spoiled 5-year-old who needed to be coddled. I had nothing left to say. Calmly, I pressed and held the chat name, scrolled to the bottom, and hit leave group. Poof. Anna has left the group. I set my phone on the table, leaned back into my chair, and closed my eyes. The waves still crashed gently outside. The sky was still bright blue. The breeze was still soft and warm. No more messages. No more judgment. No more nonsense drama. Ethan stepped onto the balcony, holding 2 glasses of fresh juice. All done? He asked, handing me a glass. I smiled, taking it. All done. He raised an eyebrow. How? I shrugged. I left the group chat. Ethan burst out laughing, then raised his glass. Brilliant. Cheers to finally escaping the family circus. After a fantastic vacation in the Maldives, Ethan and I returned home feeling more relaxed than ever. The trip had not only helped me escape Emily's drama, but it also reminded me that I have the right to enjoy my life on my terms, without being burdened by responsibilities I never agreed to. But the doorbell rang furiously barely 5 minutes after stepping into our home. I opened it, and no surprise, Emily stormed in, eyes blazing with fury. "You were beyond out of line, Anna," she nearly screamed, slamming the door shut behind her. Ethan sighed, silently retreating into his office, avoiding the incoming storm. I crossed my arms, leaning casually against the kitchen counter, watching her meltdown with pure composure. "Are you here to yell at me? Do you even have to ask?" Emily was practically shaking. "Do you have any idea how humiliated I was? My friends saw everything. Do you know what they think now? I'm a total idiot who planned a party without even checking if the hosts agreed. How do you explain that?" I shrugged, casually lifting my teacup and taking a slow sip. "I don't need to explain anything." Emily froze, clearly not expecting that response. "What? What do you mean?" I placed my cup down and met her gaze. "I told you no from the very beginning. You chose not to listen. You chose to invite guests, book a DJ, and plan everything without asking permission. And now you want to blame me? Tell me, Emily, who embarrassed themselves here?" She opened her mouth, ready to argue, but then stopped. I saw it. There was a flicker of realization in her eyes. For a split second, she had no valid excuse. Finally, she scowled, muttering, "You're so rigid. You never know how to go with the flow." I smiled. "And that's exactly why I no longer have to clean up after your birthday parties." Emily clenched her jaw, then spun on her heel and stormed out without another word. After that incident, Emily was visibly upset. She stopped texting, stopped calling, and completely avoided family gatherings. I would have felt guilty if this had been the old me. I would have tried to make peace to smooth things over. But this time, I felt at peace. No more worrying about Emily making decisions for me. No more pointless arguments over who was right or wrong. No more sleepless nights wondering if I should give in again. Just silence. And I genuinely enjoyed that silence. But in rare stillness moments, I wondered, was I too harsh? I could have explained things better. Perhaps I could have found a softer way to teach Emily this lesson. But then I remembered I had tried before. I explained. I had been patient. I had been kind. And Emily never changed. So maybe this was the best way. If you were in my shoes, what would you do? Would you give in to keep the peace in the family? Or would you do what I did, set clear boundaries, even if it meant upsetting others? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your opinion in the comments below. Thanks for following my story. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next one.